Okay, so this I'm playing white in this game, and my opponent is ranked slightly lower than I am. And this is an opening that resembles the London system. However, it is the Queen's Pawn game, Mason attack opening, and it's pretty aggressive. But it plays some of the lines. It places more emphasis on the light square bishop with support of the queen and the knights, and use the dark square bishop because it resembles the London so much. Emphasis are placed on the dark square bishop, and the strategy used is to use that to your advantage to open up attacking opportunities for the light square bishop. So let's take a look. D4 and bishop to F4. Looking, this is where players start to play like for the London, and then you support it with the E3 pawn, and then you bring the C4 immediately. In the London system, it would be the same first moves, but you wouldn't. This move wouldn't play. You would play this to here, making the triangle, then bring the bishop to D3, and then the queen to either uh, either C2 or to E2, and then finally developing your last piece, bringing the knight to D2. However, uh, in the Mason attack, you don't. You immediately go after this center pawn. So right here, they bypass it. Now you can't. He can't play the move where he brings the bishop to d6 because it would be captured by the pawn, and then of course the queen would capture the pawn back. But he lost the dark square bishop, and the queen can't capture the pawn. He would have to capture with the pawn, and then we would back off, and it has disrupted his center pawn structure quite a bit. Okay, so uh, he plays a c5, wanting to break this barricade, and then we put more pressure. So it's like you're not going to take that right now because if he takes this pawn, then I take check with tempo, check, and then immediately he loses his rook. So now he blocks with the bishop, and then I further enhance the attack with the queen. He moves, then we move the pawn up. So we support the pawn on c2, on c6, moving it to c6, and basically he still has the same position because if he takes with the knight, then I take with the knight. He takes the bishop, I take the queen, and he's lost. We're still equal, but I still like my position here because he's lost quite a bit of material, and everything is um, in disarray based on what he wants to do. Um, so he would still lose his. He would still, he would still not have a really good support system on the queen non-castle side. So he backs the bishop off, and now I start to uh, set up some attack on the king side by developing the rest of my minor pieces. He castles, and now I retreat because now I want him to take the dark square bishop. This is what I mean when I say using the dark square bishop as a decoy. I know the purpose of him putting the knight here was to limit my spaces with the bishop. Okay, this is a bad exchange. This is a bad exchange. This is terrible. This is optimal. This is great because you want to open up the H file. So he takes like I knew he would. Now, because this is mimicking the London, It's not the London. And we have so much going on over here on the queen side. He's not really focused on the king side attack. He just kind of forgets that the king, my king, he focuses that my king is not castle, and I'm not going to castle because I do have a knight, a bothersome knight over here. And this is a blitz game, and I don't really have time to calculate which moves are check and forks and everything. So I'm just going to leave my king in the center of the board. He's fine right there. This knight is on the rim, and it's dim. Doesn't have really any opportunities. If it moves to c4, then I'll take on c4 with the knight, and then take back with the queen or the bishop. My whole thing is to eventually work my queen to the c2 square and then mate on h7. That's the plan right now. That is the plan. So he brings his queen out, and of course I play the move um, b4, attacking his knight, with the knight having no anywhere to go. So he's gonna move, and I think he wanted me to. I'm not sure what he wanted me to do, but he's trying to make room for the bishop so that I can't castle, but I'm not going to castle. And once I figured out that he's thinking that I'm going to castle, now I knew that it was safe for me to play the move uh, c2 with the queen, because he was not paying attention to the file. That's how I knew he wasn't paying attention. Plus his queen is in jeopardy, so that's everything was fine there. And he captures the knight with the pawn. D takes c4. Bishop takes c4. And he moves his king, because this bishop is eyeing down this pawn right here. And he doesn't, and he was afraid I might set up an exchange. So now that was direct confirmation that he is not paying attention to the h7 file. I push the pawn up, subtle move. He brings the pawn down, wanting to open up my center, and then I play the move queen to c2, and um, he takes. That was the incorrect move. The correct move was here. This was the correct move, okay? And threatening the knight, at which case I would have taken with the queen immediately while I still have blockers here, and then further supported this over here. But he didn't do that. They made a fatal mistake. He took, and the next move is checkmate. Queen h7 checkmate. He can't go to the left or right. This bishop here is attacking the square on g8, and the queen comes down and takes the pawn on h7, and that is checkmate. Thank you for watching. That is the Mason attack. Hit subscribe.